Hey, welcome into another episode of Halos in the Infield podcast with your host, Todd Fox, and the other host,
Fernando Mendez.
There you go. And we have one more joining us today,
Hey, this is Andrew.
Andrew from the Around the League show, and our special guest today coming on from Pittsburgh.
My name is Urinating Tree. I also go by You Tree or Tree. I somehow am able to make videos on the internet and not get banned for it. So thank you for having me on, boys. I know I do like a mix of stuff. I do football, baseball, hockey, mostly those three. I do a little bit of some different stuff. I've done racing in the past. I've done one golf vid, actually. And trying to think what else. I also shitpost on Twitter. And that's all Twitter's good for. If you do it for anything else, it's not good.
That's fair. Have you ever thought about wrestling? Wrestling videos?
Nah, haven't followed it as much anymore. I used to love it like late 90s, early 2000s. Just grew out of it, unfortunately.
Well, if you get a chance, Attitude Era is kind of coming back with AEW.
Yeah, so they're pushing that. The problem is, all I think of with AEW is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because they are the team that gets neglected for AEW. Tony Khan's passion is wrestling.
Yes.
I mean, that's why you brought in all the big guns. That's why you brought in Sting. That's why you brought in CM Punk. And that was a pop I haven't heard in a long time. I actually CM Punk, saw that, yeah. Because, that's a pop you heard from, Stone Cold Steve Austin at MSG or The Rock at WrestleMania. That's the kind of pop you heard.
It was crazy there. And then they just brought in Daniel Bryan, and they're also
Bryan Danielson. I thought he had retired due to concussions.
Yeah, well, apparently he's cleared himself of that, and he's still wrestling, so.
Well, he came back with WWE because he had the concussions, as you said, came back, and, now he's with AEW.
I know Edge is back now, and I'm like, man, I haven't heard that name in 20 years. I know he had retired, I think, 10 or so ago. But,
yeah, he had a degenerative spinal injury,
so
I thought his career was done.
I thought he was done, and then, Christian, I think, is with AEW now, isn't he?
Yep, sure
He's under a different name, but...
Yeah.
You're bringing back all the old guys.
Yeah, it's blown up over there, and they actually got competition. But if you're wondering who Urinating Tree is, just listen to his videos, and you'll hear his voice, and it's very synopsis. I mean,
it's love hate. There are a lot of people who hate it. A lot of people think I'm doing a character or a voice. This isn't a voice, and it's not doing that fake voice. It's terrible. It's not.
But it works with
it's not a voice. What voice?
It works with the bad play videos that you always talk about, or the teams, so it works, man.
Yes.
But go for it, Fernando.
No, nothing. I mean, I'm a fan of the videos. I loved your Browns video where you talked about when they went 0-16.
Oh.
And then obviously the real reason we wanted to bring you on was because of your Artie Moreno video. Your Artie Moreno video blew up in the Angels community. Almost everyone's, heard about it. It's a constant talking point. So, out of our end, we're fans. So thank you, first of all, for even coming on.
Yep.
Absolutely, dude. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Honored to be on, dude.
I was just going to say real quick, we just got a lot. We reposted your video to the page, and it blew up. It got shared a lot, and a lot of fans didn't know the dynamics that you got into until they watched the video. And then, man, we got a lot of comments on all sides, everyone giving their opinion, everyone God damn that Artie, you know what I mean? So it was pretty cool, man, to see because over here the media is so soft in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really bring out what really is going on. Whereas in LA, when the Dodgers are going through something, or there's a player, like when Scherzer freaked out, it was a big story. Something like the Angels story is kind of pushed to the side.
Back in early May, the Dodgers were relentless.
Yeah.
Because that was when they were in the bit of the slump. I think Bauer was flipping out. Mookie Betts, I think, was having issues too.
Yep.
And they were thinking, oh no, the Dodgers, the sky is falling. Dude, every time Dave Roberts messes up, and I don't think he's that good of a manager, they want him fired.
Yeah.
It's Joe Madden's eh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I'm not a fan of Joe Madden either. I think he's an arrogant tool bag, but he's got the old reputation. And if I want to be completely honest with you, his management decisions nearly cost the Cubs in 2016, but who am I to judge?
No, that's what we say all the time. The one thing with Joe Madden I've always been complacent about is his bullpen management. And like you said, 2016 was one of the biggest things. Who else can almost successfully run Chapman's career into the ground?
Aaron Boone. with how bad he was in June,
There
July. Like
fair.
the great pastime of Aroldis Chapman, and I'm guessing this is a podcast, so you can't see. So unfortunately, it's like that awkward smile. It's just like
Oh,
Yeah.
like the home run
him
off
with Jose
Altuve.
Altuve. There was, I think, there was one with Jared Walsh hitting a grand slam. He was like that, and then he's like, "Oh no, he gave up a grand slam." It's like it's those reactions are priceless.
They are.
Yeah, we made a T-shirt with a silhouette of him on it, where he just kind of left like his arm dangling after that grand slam.
Mhm.
Good times.
It was like he froze. He looked. It was the
So I
weirdest
mean, it's
thing.
just like it's one of those things. Like sometimes, like you're in a really awkward situation, and you don't know how to react, so you just have like this like half smile because you don't know how to react to it. That's what that felt like.
Yeah. I wonder if he does that like at the coffee shop. If he accidentally touched someone, if he just like freezes with like a half smile.
Oh, for sure, he 100% does. Yeah, you dealt with a lot of Aroldis Chapman when he was on the Reds.
Reds and the Cubs.
Yeah, that's true. Well, at least he wasn't on the Cubs long. That was like what, like 2.5 months? Right at the
Yeah.
deadline.
Well,
But with the Reds for a while.
No, definitely with the Reds. It wasn't really Aroldis Chapman that gave us issues, though. It's like whatever reason, Billy Hamilton hit like he was Tony Gwynn. He stole bases like he was Ricky Henderson, and he somehow hit home runs like he was Mark McGwire. We turned him into a Hall of Fame player because he sucked everywhere else. Against the Pirates, he's hitting 350. I guarantee it's like, well, he's going to hit 3 for 5 with about 3 runs and 2 stolen bases today, maybe a double, because that's how Billy Hamilton is with the Pirates. He was a Pirate killer. And by the time he left the Reds, I just popped up over to Champagne. It's like, thank God we don't have to deal with this guy anymore.
Yeah, and like the rest of the league, like Billy Hamilton's batting like 120.
Yeah, it's like
120.
the
You'll steal
Pirates are
bases
the only
'cause he's
reason why
fast.
he was respectable, because he
that's
always
fair.
dominated the Pirates. Doesn't matter who we threw out there. Doesn't matter what year. Billy Hamilton dominated us.
Fair.
That's like Laredo with the Oakland A's before he got suspended. I know I'm probably killing his last name, but that dude kills the Angels all the time. The Oakland center fielder, robbing home runs and hitting doubles. Yeah,
Oh, Laureano.
Laureano. There you go.
Oriana.
Yeah, he kills us.
One question I got to ask before we really get started. What was your opinion on Clint Hurdle?
Clint Hurdle, I felt like at the beginning, I thought he was a good manager for the time, because like we were in a
Okay.
situation that we needed a culture to build. He was the kind of guy that gave a structure and a sort of accountability. But unfortunately, come like 2015, 2016, the game kind of started passing him by. And it was to the
Okay.
point where he started over favoring the veterans. He started, kind of like making really questionable decisions. His message got stale. I mean, he's a good dude, but he just like, there's like a time limit for a lot of even managers and coaches. And I felt like he had hit that point. So 2019, like that was the year, like, I mean, I knew they weren't going to do anything, but the Pirates thought they were competitive. And that 4-24 stretch was probably the best thing that could have happened to them because they'd probably still be here if it weren't for that.
Yeah. Do you like what they've been doing recently?
It's what they've had to do, to be completely honest with you. They've had to really dismantle and sell everything because, like, Adam Frazier is a good player, but Adam Frazier isn't going to be good in 3 or 4 years when the Pirates get back to being good. Your core right now is Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, maybe Steven Brault, and then your best players are AA or lower right now. So you're probably not going to be good next year. You're not going to be good. Like 2 years down, you'll probably start seeing some progress, but this is a deep rebuild. And unfortunately, that's the price you got to pay. And it sucks that we're doing it 10 years after we had just finished a deep rebuild, but that's the price of being in a small market. So it's either like you have to rebuild constantly if you're a small market, or you're a situation kind of like the Angels where you're throwing money at a bunch of elite free agents and you don't have the structure of the development to back them. So it's give or take. But in terms of the trade value, I feel like they've gotten fair value for what they've had. Like Frazier, you weren't going to get a ton for because he's had a great year, but his past years have not been good. He really struggled big time in 2020. He's a very streaky hitter. I think he hasn't done that well in San Diego, but he's more of a super utility guy there. Rich Rod, I mean, you weren't going to get much for him, but this was the time to trade him. So I'm fine with that. I'm surprised they got something for guys like Austin Davis and Tyler Anderson. I'm surprised they got something for them. Like the Tyone trade looks pretty good right now. The prospects are doing well there. Musgrove, like I like Musgrove, but he's been like the return on that's doing well as well. They're like a couple guys doing well in that regard as well. Like Jared Bednar, I think could be the closer of the future for a couple of years for us. Josh Bell, like Will Crow's been not good, but I think like Eddie Yan, I think is the guy they're looking at. So
Yeah,
it's to be determined.
it definitely looks like they have a lot of pieces that they could build around.
That's what I mean. It's like AA or lower. That's mostly where they're at right now. I mean, you're looking at like O'Neal Cruz, Calvin Mitchell, Roansy Contreras, Mason Martin, not Eric Gonzalez. I'm drawing a blank on the name. Henry Davis too. I forget their pick last year. Shoot.
It'd be nice to get the Pirates back winning again, because that is probably one of the prettiest parks in all of
It's
baseball.
beautiful, man. Even when they're bad, you get third base side, just sit there and look at the skyline. The only place that rivals is Camden Yards. I haven't been to any of the West Coast parks, so I couldn't tell you how Angel Stadium is. I couldn't tell you how Dodger Stadium is. I hear San Fran Stadium is absolutely beautiful on the same level, but unfortunately, like I haven't been any further west than I think like Milwaukee and Chicago. So
Those are both. So Milwaukee, underrated ballpark.
it is.
I've been to like 13 of them. So
I agree.
So,
Like the television broadcast does not show its beauty.
Yeah.
oh
Not
no,
at all.
yeah. Because like here's the thing, like people always talk about Petco Park's a great stadium, and Petco Park is great for casual baseball fans, but like Petco Park wasn't a stadium like intended for hardcore fans. You know what I mean? Like people go there to have a good time, not to watch a baseball game.
Mhm.
And obviously there is people who go to watch a baseball game, but Andrew, you've been there. You understand it's catered to like the bros. It's catered to the people who are just there to get a beer.
You walk
So
in, they
that's-
give you a wide shirt.
I've heard that about
Yeah.
Coors Field too. They call it the largest bar in Denver. I think that's what they call it.
Coors Field's nice though. I will say
I've-
that. And Camden Yards, beautiful. Probably my favorite
Camden
ballpark.
is fantastic. Just the attention to detail to a lot of aspects.
Plus
Fantastic.
the food. The food is like top notch. They
Food's
just
not
throw
bad.
Old
I'm
Bay
tr-
seasoning on everything.
Old Bay. I mean, there's only two reasons to go to Baltimore. Camden Yards, seafood. Nick's Fish House, Jimmy's Seafood. Two places to go.
All right.
Yeah, I go to Baltimore once a month. Besides that, you guys are gonna hate me, Baltimore. I hate your city. Absolutely horrible.
There's like three good
said
places,
it.
and then the rest is just it's grungy.
Oh, if you ever go back there's a place on the outskirts called Red, White, and Blue Barbecue. They're really good. It's worth like the 15-minute drive out. It's like Memphis style barbecue. It's delicious.
I'll have to try that next time I'm there.
There
Yeah,
you
don't go back, but if you do,
Well, I mean, me and my girlfriend try to go once a year, so it's like
okay,
she likes the seafood there. So
okay.
Yeah,
I'll be
that's
going
worth
next week.
and it's
so-
only like a 4-hour drive. So like
Oh.
2 hours, we go to this. Like, have you ever heard of a place called Breezewood, Pennsylvania? It's a connector
Yeah, I
between
think
the
so.
Pennsylvania Turnpike and the Maryland Interstate. And it is just an oasis of fast food, casual restaurants, and gas stations. It is like,
Yeah,
it is urban glory in all of its might. People hate it, but you know something? You've been driving on the turnpike for 2 hours. I need to stop, get some gas, maybe get some sheets, maybe get
Yep.
something quick to eat. Or maybe I'm a trucker. I might want to get some, like, go to Pilot Flying J, maybe stop at a hotel. There are a couple of those there. You know what?
Yeah.
That works because there's nothing else around there.
yeah.
Yep.
Trust me, I make the drive. Same thing, once a month between Baltimore to New Jersey. So, yep, those are your best friends. You got to stop there, get some crappy Burger King, maybe some Auntie Anne's, because that's all
Auntie
they have there.
Anne's.
And New Jersey, you can't pump your own gas. It just gets worse.
It's full serve.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that. Like, I was driving from New York to Philly one time, and I'm like, I need gas. It's like, oh shit, New Jersey's full serve. I'm like, oh no.
And then I feel
Well, I
bad. I
put
got
my
to tip
own
them like
gas.
$5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I've done it before. Because it took too long. So I just put the gas thing in. And I walked inside. The guy's like, he didn't know what to do.
Whatever, he's getting paid. I think
Yeah,
they
'cause
get paid like
Yeah,
over minimum, I think, right?
when you're here in California, you know, like though, if you see a guy by the pump, he's either trying to wash your windshield with a newspaper,
Yeah.
or he's trying to bum money from you. So when I was in Oregon, I'm like, dude, no, I don't want it. He's like, no, I'm pumping your gas. No, I don't want you to pump my gas. I had to explain it. I wasn't used to that. So
Yeah, there are a couple of those around here, but they're more in like the shadier areas of Pittsburgh. So it is what it is.
Yeah, don't stop there.
Oh yeah, keep driving.
yeah.
I live by a place called the North Side. Like at night, it gets a little ski.
Noted. All right, so we brought Urinating Tree on today to talk about his Artie Moreno video. So we on this network have been notorious about talking about Artie Moreno, just trying to make the fans aware about, you know, I don't want to say how bad of a human he is, but about as how bad of a human he is. I mean, let's boil it down here. You know, there's a lot. So a couple of the bullet points that you talked about in your video. So Artie Moreno obviously bought the team in 2003. You know, they were newly crowned World Series champions. He purchased them from Disney, who before that purchased a team from Gene Autry and his wife. He bought the team for, I believe, $180 million.
Like 183 million, I think it was.
Yes, and now the team's worth about 2.5 billion, just under.
2.5. Oh, it's more. I heard 1.9, but 2.5. Yeah.
No, it's 2.4 something, but I'm rounding up here.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that's a nice return.
But yeah, I'd say like a 1,000% return. I think that's pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, and all you have to do was isolate an entire county of people.
And try to go to a different county and claim you're Los Angeles. Yeah, that works well.
That definitely
go.
alienates the area over here too.
Mm-hmm. The only thing worse is if you were in San Diego and called yourself Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're in San Diego, you want to call yourself Los Angeles, you have to move your team, just as the Chargers.
Yeah, and and the Clippers if you want to be thorough.
Yep, the Clippers too. How dare I forget?
Oh man, it sucks being a San Diego sports fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Andrew does that around the league show, but he's a San Diego sports fan.
I would say at least you have the Padres, but they're in a state of free fall and might not make the playoffs. So
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
ever since those kids released that Slam Diego cover of California Love, they have gone to shit.
I know we did,
And it has not been good.
Yeah, no.
Somebody
You guys
find
need to
those
hang 'em
kids
like on
and
the-
drop them in the pier. That's
Yeah.
the only way you save San Diego.
Yeah, we need to get a bunch of like cloaks and just do a sacrifice in the middle of Petco Park.
I was gonna say on the Coronado Bridge, it's right there,
Anything
overlooking the stadium and the city. We
push 'em
must
over.
sacrifice you in the name of Slam Diego, and you just cut the rope. They have to like fall. There you go.
And then the Padres mascot or a friar comes out and does a celebratory dance.
He's technically a religious figure, so that works.
So, I mean, yeah,
Just
exactly.
dancing in the torchlight.
Yeah, right. Okay, so after Artie Moreno purchased the team, he decided to make an immediate impact. You alluded to it in your video. You know, lowering the price of beer was probably one of the biggest things he did originally.
Mhm.
Angels fans loved him for that. Todd shaking his head no, but I know he was lit back then.
Well, it was only a couple dollars, man. I mean, to see where it's at right now, because in only the normal concession stands, it's at the same price as it was back then. But they've opened up other bars, and it's just as high and just as premium as all the others.
That's what I mean. It's probably like the basic stuff that's like
Yes.
they cut the cost of.
Pretty much.
You can get a Miller Lite for $4.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, I mean, it's not good. It's not the
But
best beer, but I
who
mean,
wants that though? Who wants that?
Here's my thing, though. I'm not going to drink a beer at the game. I'll either drink before or after the game where it's cheaper and I'll get like better quality and better selection too. Nothing against the selection I get, but I'm going to pay like 10, 11 bucks for just a bottle of, say, Penn Brewery, like Penn Pilsner or Fathead's Bumbleberry. Those are a couple crafts we have around here. Those are decent ones, but like you're paying 10, 11, you're paying for the ballpark. You're not paying for the beer itself.
Absolutely, and
That's
that's
right.
why everyone pre-games in the parking lot. You know, they have their
Mhm.
tailgates because I mean, unlike the Dodgers, we can tailgate. You know, they're not allowed to over there.
It was with how rowdy they get or the allegations of how rowdy they get. I don't blame them for not doing that.
Bro, do you know that
Yeah,
there's
probably
a
smart.
park around the Dodger Stadium, Elysian Park? That park is closed because they're scared of Dodger fans outside the stadium, pre-gaming over there, then coming in. So they on game days, the entire park, which is just as big an area as Dodger Stadium, is closed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, Tree, I do have one request for a future video.
Yes.
You should do a whole video on the Dodgers and like how they literally had to like pry people out of their homes to tear them down in front of their eyes to build the
Yes.
stadium.
When was this? Like in the 60s?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
they bought the property, yeah, they yanked the.
Eminent domain.
The mid 50s.
Eminent domain. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think the same thing kind of happened with Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Like they had demolished like an area of the Hill District, and a bunch of like affluent people moved out, and it became one of the shadiest areas in Pittsburgh, and it hasn't recovered since.
Jeez.
And it's a shame because the
Jeez.
Hill District back in like 30s, 40s, 50s, it was an epicenter of Black culture. Like you had like some great jazz legends that played there, Homestead Grays that had played there as well, Negro Baseball
Wow.
League. So like there was a lot of like history there. And you built Civic Arena and poof, gone.
Jeez.
yeah, it's wild.
No.
That's
Yeah, I didn't know that even happened. But there you go. See, I mean,
Mhm.
that's why we as content creators, we have to tell these stories so that, hey, people are aware.
because it gets forgotten.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
You forget history, you repeat it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good
And
point.
they will. Don't you worry.
Oh, easily.
Just
easily.
wait till Artie
Yeah,
wants to do stadium. He's like, this land isn't good enough. I want that land, and we're going to rip people out of their homes there.
There are too many homeless people here. Move them away, or
That
build
happened.
them into the stadium.
just,
Build them into the stadium.
just put a sheet over them.
It'll give its life.
The sad part is that happened. Remember, Todd, the area right where the
Oh.
river used to be, right behind the Big A, had a bunch of less fortunate people. But wasn't it Artie who complained?
Yeah, it was. There was literally hundreds of people that were on the riverbed just adjacent to the Big A sign, and they actually put up signs that says "Don't feed the people" on the sign. Because during tailgates, people would go over there and give them food, and then there'd be more people that would show up.
Unfortunately, that's what happens because they think, "Hey, I'm going to get free food."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why, unfortunately, that's why there are like policies of restaurants to throw out their stuff immediately for that reason. I think probably
Yeah.
I know a bunch of them in Pittsburgh have that policy, but I know California probably, especially LA.
All the
That's
dumpster
probably zero
diving.
tolerance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I used to give out free food. I
He-
was 18. That was fine.
Yeah.
but he got very mad, and he went to the city and bitched and moaned, and all of a sudden all those people are gone.
Yeah. I think it helped that the Ducks got declined in All-Star game, I think, because of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of when the city was like, okay, we got to do something.
Got the leverage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so going back to the topic. So after Artie bought the team, he decided to go after big free agents like Bartolo Colon, Vladimir Guerrero, who, funny enough, ended up being the only Angels Hall of Famer in history, which is baffling. But Vladimir Guerrero was the first and only so far. And then you went on to talk about some of the really bad contracts
Yes.
that Artie Moreno has greenlighted.
Yep.
So let's start off.
Or like some that have had bad outcomes, because I know a lot of people like bitched about, Dan Herron, David Freese. There were a couple others as well on there, Chris Iannetta. But like the thing with those, like Dan Herron, like unfortunately you let him go after a couple of years. He was really good for you, but he declined like rapidly after his last year. Plus you gave up a premium haul, like a quality third, fourth starter in Joe Saunders. He lasted a year. Tyler Skaggs, who you had to reacquire, and Patrick Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Iannetta, they had to trade Tyler Chatwood, who would have been useful in the mid-2000s. He had a couple years where he had a WAR over 3, I believe. Plus, what maybe he does better in LA instead of Colorado.
Yeah,
and
he
then,
pitched.
David Freese, they traded Randall Pritchard.
Mm-hmm.
And then another big name is Gary Matthews Jr., right? He was a really big signing at the time.
I think so. I did not go over the Gary Matthews Jr. signing, unfortunately. But I think he was a big contract, if I remember correctly. Like, I think it was like late 2000s, if I remember.
Yeah, he was late 2000s, and he was almost $100 million player. I think he was like 86 or 89 million, and he was way overpaid. They were just trying to keep him from Texas.
Yeah. And fun fact, Gary Matthews Jr. was actually a Pirate before he became really good. He was claimed on waivers. I think he was there for like a month or two, and then he goes somewhere else and gets good. That's also a Pirate tradition, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, where players would suck here and then get really good elsewhere.
Oh yeah, like
especially when they
Bautista,
got
right?
traded for pennies. Not just
Yeah.
Jose Bautista, Aramis Ramirez,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Jose
yeah.
Yen, we had Jason Schmidt.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Hey, well, remember the Angels had Kirby Yates for literally a game, and then he
Mhm.
went on to the Padres to become one of the better closers. Like what, 2 years ago?
But you can't
guys-
predict that. Like
you
that
guys
stuff
had-
happens.
You guys had Johnny Morton too, right? Back in the
Charlie
day.
Moore, ground shuck. Oh yeah.
Charlie
Well,
Morton.
the thing with ground shuck, he would be really good for about 5 innings, and then comes inning 6, he just implodes. And it was a shame because like he had the potential to be really good, but the Pirates could never harness it. Goes to Houston, he becomes really good.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole, same thing, even though you can argue he was doing some sticky tack. Tyler Glass now never developed in Pittsburgh, goes to Tampa Bay, does well. I mean, it's a shame he's not healthy, but
Yeah.
same thing. I mean, it just keeps happening. It's like, oh, great. Jamison Tyons became really good over the past couple months, and I'm really happy for him because that dude's been through so much shit.
Mm-hmm.
Testicular cancer, 2 Tommy Johns, all this, like the injuries. It's like he is a good dude, and I'm really glad he's doing well.
It's good.
You were alluding to some of the names. I mean, and then you get to the really, really big ones, like, the Pujols contract, the CJ Wilson contract, the Josh Hamiltons. Chris Iannetta and David Freese, like you said, I mean, they were decent for what they were. They were meant to just be complementary pieces. But, Houston Street, Ricky Nolasco, Luis Valbuena, Justin Upton, who we're currently dealing with, Cody Allen, Tim Lincecum, Zach Kozar, Matt Harvey, Trevor Cahill, Julio Teheran. It's just a never-ending list of really bad contracts or players who just didn't pan out, even for the money they were getting paid.
Or experiments like Tim Lincecum. Because
Yeah.
he was at the point where he was just gassed, and it's like, this is depressing.
Yeah.
I think he
I
was only
remember he
throwing
did well
like
in his showcase.
89. And
Yeah.
like, it's like his delivery, like people said, like, oh, he's going to fall hard. And then you kind of saw it the last few years in San Fran. And then when he gets to LA, it's like, game.
Yeah, he looked like he was just throwing batting practice up there.
It was a shame. He was really good.
Yeah, he had like that Sandy Koufax peak.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
Sandy Koufax retired in his prime, so we
Yeah.
didn't know how he fell, but
Yeah,
Yeah, no, Tim Lincecum was certainly. I was excited when we got him at the time because obviously, growing up, Tim Lincecum was the
Yeah.
guy. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
And I think a lot of people liked him, whether they're Giants fans or not. So obviously, anytime you get any name, you're going to be excited naturally. But when they don't pan out, that's when it really sucks.
Matt Harvey too.
Yeah. That was
Surprisingly, still in the league, and
yeah, he keeps getting a job.
He's not doing that bad with the Orioles, right? I know
well,
like-
he's had a couple stretches. Let me actually look this up real quick. I have Baseball Reference up. I don't know if he's been doing too well. This is probably his last year in the bigs because Baltimore's just using him as a placeholder. Yeah, he's 6-14 with a 6.28 ERA and a 4.6
Never mind.
FIP. So yeah,
okay.
he had a stretch where he was doing okay. I mean, he's doing better than he did with the Angels and Royals, but
that's amazing. That he still got a job.
it's a shame he just kept getting injured because he was also really good.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, with the Mets and that World Series team.
It seems, I was gonna say, it seems like almost every one of those free agents was plus 30, like on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah. Julio
But
Teheran.
unfortunately, I think a lot of guys are when they hit free agency. Most of them are flirting with 30 or are past that 30 plateau.
that's
Because
That's a thing
They're-
too. Like you're paying for what they were. You're not paying for what
Absolutely.
they're going to be. Like Mike Trout, you're not paying him 14 years for what he's going to be 35 to 40. You're paying for what he is right now.
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what they did with Pujols. That's absolutely what they did
Mhm.
with Pujols.
Yes, they
We never thought that we knew that Pujols was going to regress. There was absolutely no way
Right.
he was going to be batting, 350 every season with 50 to 60 home runs. But what we didn't think is that he would be batting 220 with, 25 home runs.
that's the risk you take, unfortunately, especially when you sign a guy who's 31 and has a lot of mileage over the past 10 years.
Yeah, and then right away the plantar fasciitis took over his feet. He lost his speed. He was stealing bases with St. Louis, And I think
Yep.
right now there's two sides of the fan base which annoys us. There's the Halo honks, which is led by, well, actually this guy, which is Roger Lodge, the announcer. And then he likes Mr. Positivity. Nobody could do wrong. And they're the type of fans that say, "Oh, you know what, Pujols, you got to respect him because he's a Hall of Famer." It's like, no, dude, we're not paying him for what he did in St. Louis, although we kind of are. But we're rooting. Well, none of his stuff in St. Louis comes over to Anaheim, you know. And I think that's where the real Anaheim fans are like, you know, he kind of sucks. And there's that kind of divide because we would go back and forth with each other. Like most of us would be like, "Oh, we want him off the team." The Halo honks were like, "No, you got to respect this guy. He's done this off the field. He's done this on the field." It's like, I don't care about that. What have you done for me lately? You know.
Well, you have to consider too. I mean, he might be good off the field, but you have him for a 10-year personal services contract once he retires, so he can do good stuff there. He can be an ambassador for the team.
There you go. And I think
Did they not void that when they cut
I
Cut
think
him?
no.
That's
I
my
think that's
question.
still active. That's still active. I think that's when he retires, he gets the personal services contract.
I would certainly hope so because, you know, obviously that would be kind of nice. I mean, I have no problem believing that Pujols might be a good mentor, might be a good hitting coach. I don't think a lot of people would argue with that, but he's, you know, certainly not doing it as a player anymore.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing all right as a bench guy with the Dodgers, but the
It's
Dodgers always like know how to get the most out of guys.
Yeah, it's just funny though that the exact thing that he told the Angels brass supposedly is what he went for with the Dodgers. Like I for sure thought, okay, he's going to St. Louis or he's going to a American League team that needs a DH or something like that. And then he goes for the exact thing that the Angels offered him here. He was like, "Nope, I'm going to do it with the Dodgers." So it was like a big FU to us and as a fan base. And then we were like, you know what, man? Like again, it tore the fans because some people were like, "Oh, the Angels disrespected him," and then other people were like, "No, he disrespected us." So we're torn right now. The entire organization and fan base.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially when you're in a situation where you're hovering 500 and you kind of don't know where to go. So that definitely is understandable.
26 times we've gone to 500 this year. That's crazy.
As an unbiased party, Tree, who would you say? What would you say? Do you think it was the right idea for them to get rid of Pujols this year and just kind of eat that remaining part of the contract?
I
to give
think
guys
it
like
was.
Ohtani?
I think it was
Okay.
because Jared Walsh emerged as a legitimate first base option. That's the reason
Absolutely.
why. Shohei's your DH. You have nowhere to play Pujols, and at this point, it's like, hey man, it's not working out. We're going to pay you your money. Go win a ring somewhere. That's all you really can do because he's just going to sit and rot, and then you have a Chris Davis situation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
that was another fun one, huh?
That was another shame. He just retired, actually, which
Yeah, the new Bobby Bonilla, right? 'Cause,
oh
I mean, he's
no,
gonna be getting
for another
bad
15
money.
years, he's making $9 million for the next 3 years. So it's
Yeah, I mean,
and then I
yeah.
think it goes to 5 until I think 2031, and then 1.5 until 2036, I believe.
That's nice.
But it is like a 15-year deferred payment.
I want his agent. That's pretty.
I
Jeez.
think we all would.
Oh, go ahead, Fernando. Sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was just going to say that. So with all those names that we listed, and there's more, we are well over $1 billion with a B. $1 billion, guys.
Yes.
Artie Moreno has literally grabbed shovels of money and burned it because we got almost no production. The sad part is if you combine all those names, I don't even know if we're like in a positive war. And if we are, it's not very high. We're talking, low double digits.
If that. And you also have to
Yeah.
consider that's not including your in-house extensions like your Jared Weavers and your Mike Trouts, which will elevate that war, especially with Trout. But at
Absolutely.
the same time, do you really want to pay $2 billion for no playoff wins in 10 years?
No, nobody would.
Yeah, I was bringing this up. I don't know which way you're going to go with this, Fernando, on your next bullet point. But if we're sticking with Artie here, I brought this up I do a post game on here, and we were talking last night about how Artie could have been a bigger pillar in the community, being the first Hispanic owner, maybe donating to some local schools, backpacks, things of that nature. You have to pay right here $15 to $20 for a cheap plastic backpack with a coloring book, a little t-shirt to become part of the Angels kids group, right? When he should be doing with the Dodgers, the Sparks, other teams locally that even the Clippers back in the day before they got rid of Sterling would donate to schools to get their logos out, to get their team brand out, and also take care of the kids. I think the Angels missed that. There's a whole generation that has missed that connection that could be with the only team in town besides the Ducks. They could get that one-on-one appreciation, and maybe their families start watching games and going to games, things of that nature, because the team is giving back to the community. There's no community outreach with Artie, and I think that's a huge a negative on his part. I think he could have established himself, especially with a large Hispanic area in the Santa Ana area, just outside Anaheim, in the Anaheim area as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, I mean, you have to consider with Artie Moreno, he's a dude from Arizona. He doesn't know the ins and outs of Anaheim, LA, Orange County, LA County, anything like that. So what he's thinking is, how do I increase the value of my team? And he's done a good job of that. I mean, I will give him credit.
Absolutely.
He knows how to make money. But at the same time, when you try and push yourself into LA, even though Anaheim wants no part of LA because you're in a different county and like it gobbles up everything, like it creates a resentment. And I feel like Anaheim kind of feels that way, especially since Anaheim's kind of bending over backwards for him. Like they nearly moved to Long Beach like a couple times, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yeah.
But I mean, he's just doing it to parlay, to benefit him. And once again, he's doing a great job of that. But if you're looking, community outreach or, fan relations or anything like that, it's not working.
It's not, because several teams have done around the league where they've given out, baseball equipment to inner city kids. They've donated to, boys and girls youth clubs, things like that. Gene Autry back in the day used to have Anaheim Days when he had no affiliation with Disneyland, but he was giving to their organization. They were giving back. And, so it's like, Artie's done anti-everything Gene Autry, and I don't think there's going to be any streets named after him when he's gone, like Autry has in the Anaheim area. Just
he could always buy it. Well, remember,
Yeah, he'll buy a street.
He has the land around Angel Stadium, so he'll probably build a bunch of hip shops that nobody goes to outside of game days. Maybe a couple bars that he's going to collect the rent of, and they'll call it Artie Moreno Boulevard.
There you go.
There you go.
They'll call it Artie Party Boulevard.
Artie Party. There you go.
That's where they'll have all the clubs.
Don't give him that idea. He'll do it.
Yes, true.
Yeah, right. We got to put in the patent for it now, so he doesn't take it. Party. It'll be a party supply store.
Someone get a
God.
trademark for it quickly.
Right.
Yeah, right. Do the Pirates do any kind of community outreach to your
They
knowledge?
do a little bit. They have something called Miracle League, so it helps
Okay, yeah.
like disabled children. Like they build like ballparks around there. There's Pirates charities, so they do like functions for that as well. So they do some work, but mostly people around here bitch that Bob Nutting's cheap. So
Okay.
that's
I think
pretty-
I've heard about the Angels Baseball Foundation a handful of times, but I have no idea what they actually do. Like when you go to other ballparks, they're like, oh, we do this 50-50 raffle.
Yep.
The
50-50.
money goes to, children with cancer, things like that. Like they'll make it very clear what they're doing. Like I think the Padres do a 50-50 raffle, Andrew, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And
Pirates-
they
Pirates
do a
do a
lot of
50-50.
little league projects, but I don't know what the Angels Foundation does.
Well, maybe the 50-50 is half goes to the winner, half goes to Artie Moreno. Maybe it's like that.
That's why I haven't heard about it.
Artie's fund.
The Artie's fund. It's like it helps him fund his existence in Arizona. It helps him build a few more solar panels, and it helps him get a couple of high-speed processors, especially graphics processors, to help him mine Bitcoin. Because you know how expensive graphics processors are nowadays.
Oh my God.
Those are pricey, man. I know
Did
a
you-
few friends that have tried to build computers, and it is a living hell trying to find a reasonably priced graphics processor.
I know, it's the worst. I actually just built a bot for someone to buy a graphics card for themselves because they've been trying for 6 months.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Have you-
makes
The worst.
sense.
Have you seen what he wants to do to the Anaheim area or around the Angels Stadium? The drawings.
No, I have an idea. Like I know he wants to build like shops, like sort of like plazas, restaurants, bars.
Yeah, he wants to make it look sort of like SoFi. If you've seen SoFi Stadium, how they have the surrounding community of restaurants, like you said, bars and of that nature around.
So it's going to be like overpriced stuff that's probably like local, but pays us like a ton in rent to Artie Moreno for the privilege to be
Yes.
around Angel Stadium. That's what a lot of people are going for nowadays, especially ownership. Like if you own the land, the key is in the land. It's not in like buildings. If you own the land, then you get the money. So, I mean, Anaheim giving him Angel Stadium and that land for $350 million, that is an absolute steal, especially in the heart of California.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost paid more for Mike Trout than he paid for the land around.
He
Angel
is paying
Stadium,
more
which
for
is
Mike Trout.
bad. Is he? I don't.
Yeah.
think.
Is he?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's like 400 million.
Yeah, that's true. It's just crazy because you used to be able to drive down the freeway, the 5, and look and see Anaheim in all its glory, the stadium. Now, with all them damn condos and everything, all those areas that just build up around the stadium, you can't almost see it anymore. Like you can only see the top of the stadium, but most of that land, like you said, is Artie's now. It's like, God, it's got to be worth so much money, man. I mean,
No, he doesn't own that land. Like where the condos are, those are all like other people. He only owns where the parking lot is. That's all his.
I heard he sold that stuff off though, because that was all open land for the longest time. I may be
Oh, I
wrong.
thought it was just old warehouses.
No, that was like open land for the longest time, from what I heard, and it was part of Gene Autry's land at one point. So
Really?
yeah,
He
So
must
he-
have sold it like a while ago.
yeah, he cashed out on that sucker too. So I can't imagine.
At least those condos are nice. At least they're not like eyesores.
Well, what do you think, Tree, about Manassian coming in? Because you touched on the previous GMs, and you briefly touched in the video about Manassian.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to be the game changer here?
As I said, like my issue with the GMs, we saw with DePoto, we saw with Epler. I don't know how much of what the Angels do is Manassian or Epler or DePoto, and how much is Moreno. That's the problem I have. Like drafting 20 pitchers, like the one thing you do not do in an MLB or an NHL draft, since this takes so long to get there, you do not draft on need. An immediate need. You draft best player available. And like I doubt 20 pitchers were the best players available.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because here's the problem. 3 years down the line, maybe hitting's your issue because maybe Shohei Ohtani goes elsewhere, Jared Walsh isn't what he is, or maybe he gets traded. You have a bunch of bad contracts that are aging out. Maybe Rendon isn't what he was. You need hitting. And maybe you have a decent bit of pitching, and now you have a different problem because you drafted 20 pitchers, and maybe if you're lucky, 1 or 2 make an impact at the MLB level. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that was Moreno's idea or that was Manassian's idea. That's the problem I have right now. And as we've seen from the Jock Peterson and Ross Stripling trade, like he's pulled out of trades before just out of impatience.
Yeah, that seems like a Artie decision, because that doesn't seem like an analytical decision.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I mean, that seems like sort of like a need-based decision, and it does not make sense, not even analytically. It's from like an organizational position, because now you're going to have a dearth of hitting prospects unless you trade players for hitting prospects.
What's interesting is that the Dodgers kind of did a similar thing this year. I think they either took 19 out of 20 as pitchers or 20 out of 20.
They didn't get 20 out of 20, but I think they got close.
Yeah, it was close.
So that's a perfect segue. You talked about the Jock Peterson and Ross Stripling deal. So you ended the video by really talking about some of the bullet points that, you know, Artie Moreno has really done wrong. And guys, if I'm missing anything here, go ahead and chime in. So you already talked about meddling. We talked about that multiple times. Meddling in free agency, meddling in trades, really just running the team like a Jerry Jones. You know, your general manager is more of a figurehead in the Artie Moreno era.
Yes.
So talked about that. The Tyler Skaggs incident and everything that's now happening in court. For instance, the Angels refusing to show up in court. The Angels
did not know
refusing to
that.
pay the family out. All that stuff is now adding to the Tyler Skaggs issue, becoming a bigger issue. It's not even like, well, maybe he knew about it and he just wasn't paying attention. Now it's, well, now he's showing his true colors because the wife wanted a settlement, or, you know, they had a situation where they could have done a settlement, and Artie's like, no, we're going to go to court.
And
I feel like I've done
and
nothing
then
wrong. And-
Skaggs' family sued the Angels and a couple of the ballpark guys that were either dealers or were responsible. And if some of the rumors are true, especially with Skaggs being a middleman and a really high up, apparently being in charge of this whole situation, you're going to make the Pittsburgh drug trials look amateur. Like,
Well,
I hope it's not.
Well, see, right now, too, the other thing they're going to court about is trying to block the information from going public if they do go to court.
You can't, though. I mean, once in a while, I mean, the Freedom of Information Act exists for a reason. You can't expunge data because the problem is there are people that are going to find out about it, or maybe some hotshot investigative reporter is going to realize, you know what? Maybe from The Athletic says, you know what? I'm going to dig into this. And then it becomes a huge expose and a massive black eye. And if the Angels organization and Moreno are holding back on this, then if he gets caught, the MLB may force Moreno to sell, or they may strip him of the team.
So you think if it comes back to, okay, you're making us look bad, you're making us lose money, or just, having fans doubt the quality, not the quality, but the integrity of your team and the organization, MLB a whole, you think they'll go for that route to be like, hey,
don't know. That's worst case scenario, obviously, but that's if this all links to Moreno. I mean, more than likely, he probably didn't know or didn't care. Like, he seems like the kind of guy who like neglects developments and the behind the scenes stuff. He cares more about the sexy things like player acquisition, big contracts, star players. That's why like there are a bunch of stories of like, people in the comments like talking about like my friend was an Angels prospect and all they said was, oh, just throw as hard as you can. That's pretty much the philosophy, apparently. I don't know how true that is, but I can kind of buy it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So another thing, aside from the Tyler Skaggs thing, is he signed Mickey Callaway.
Yeah.
They said, multiple people reported that the Mickey Callaway, the photos he was sending was one of the worst kept secrets in Major League Baseball. It was well known that he was a dirtbag. Yet he still found employment here.
Well, that's why they call him Dick Pick Mick.
Yeah, we've called him that multiple times. There was obviously go ahead.
All I can think of is just like how bad he was with the Mets. That's all I can think of. Not even the dick pics. It's just like Frank Fleming flipping out about Mickey Callaway. It's like, we battle. That's all he would say. And it's like, this is hilarious. Thank God I'm not a Mets fan.
Then it gets worse. Because not only was, all that happening, but he was also sending dick pics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not even just
with the Mets organization. Jared Porter did the same thing. And
he made Brett Favre look like an angel. Brett
Favre had the decency to wear Crocs.
Yeah, right. So aside from Mickey Callaway, there was the whole instance with Josh Hamilton. With Josh Hamilton, I believe he admitted that he had the relapse, and Artie Moreno was like, hey, you're not welcome here. So he ate all the money, basically, forced him to go back to Texas because Texas was like, hey, we'll take him. And, so there was the mistreatment of that. Speaking of mistreatment, we have the minor league situation. I think I messaged you originally saying that now we, as a podcast network and our fans, have taken it upon ourselves to give catered meals to some of our single A guys because it's very well known that our organization is one of the worst.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you alluded to it in your video.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are articles on ESPN, like an athlete needs significant nutrients and calories to maintain not only a physical frame, but develop himself. Like this isn't even extreme science. It's just common sense. You exert energy, you have to consume to regain that energy, or else you're going to become gone and lose weight. Like that's basic calorie deficit. And the problem is when you aren't able to allow players to afford rent. I mean, I've heard there are horror stories about people in like, Dominican League camps and, just like being neglected there. This is what this feels like. 8 players to an apartment complex, having to take other jobs as like an Uber driver or something else. That's not ideal for baseball camp. There are also like a lot of stories I've heard about Reed Detmers, like having to get his own coaches, Mike Trout being developed in the Dodgers system, apparently, because like he was part of their minor league system. Like somebody was telling me about that. But as I said,
we had I believe
it was like a partnership with like the Dodgers minor league system or something.
Maybe we had the Quakes, or our single A team at that time was the Quakes.
Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah, and now they're with the Dodgers, so maybe that's what they meant.
I don't know. Maybe I think that is what they meant, probably. But
Yeah, because that was our single A team back then.
Mhm. And once again, like when like a minor league veteran is saying, "Hey, this is the worst organization I've been with, like 5 or 6 different organizations," he's praising the Cleveland Indians, which I mean they have done a great job developing pitchers. So once again, you have to like worry about your guts of an organization. The Angels feel like they have all the cosmetic surgery, spray tan, liposuction, maybe implants, but on the inside, they're being eaten away by a liver infection, ruptured spleen, appendicitis. They have heart disease, maybe some lung cancer in there, and like just a couple broken bones. Like there's no like the infrastructure's messed up.
Yeah. And speaking of that, real quick, what are your thoughts? Have you checked in or did your research on the training staff of the Angels? Because they have guys that have been here since 1998. We don't have these new yoga instructors that stretch out these guys with new forms of medicine, things like that, herbal type stuff. I feel this team, like the other day, Patrick Sandoval was complaining that his injury that was supposedly just a nagging one turned into a 60-day stint now on the IL. Griffin Canning had 2 broken vertebrae in his back. He's done for the year. And his started out as a minor back tweak. Upton's been on the IL 4 times this year. Rendon, it took him 3 times to diagnose him before they said, okay, surgery. And they've done several times where they said, oh, so-and-so's day to day, and then they're gone for a long time. Cobb started with a blister and he's been out 5 weeks. We have
Dexter Fowler started with, he has like a tweak in his knee. He's going to be day to day. Oh, yeah. No,
that would be an issue with personal trainer, physical training, and also with injury diagnosis too. So that's another infrastructure issue.
Yeah, because right now there was a point in this season where we had 16 injuries, and that was by far the most on the major league club of any major league club.
Plus Trout.
Yeah, plus Trout. Yeah, I didn't even mention the biggest fish on there. No pun intended.
That goes without saying.
He was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
10 to 12.
And they're still talking about, he might come back. Why?
Why would you come back? You're already out of the playoffs. You're what, over 10 games back.
Yeah, they've been saying, he's going to make a late September comeback. But for what?
Put butts in the seats.
Yeah. Right now, I don't even think that will work right now. I think they're lucky they're getting the fans they are for Shohei. But just I just wanted to get your opinion on that, the training staff being so bad, because this isn't just this year. It's been the last several years.
That's an infrastructure issue again. Because at the same time, it's development. It's the little things that Artie Moreno isn't paying attention to. Once again, he's meddling in the higher end stuff. But when it comes to day-to-day ops, when it comes to, the guys on the front lines, like they're hurting. And unfortunately, you're at the point where it's affecting the on-field product. And it has been for a very long time.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you said you haven't changed the staff since 97, physical training staff. Mm-hmm. Like there have been breakthroughs in athletic science and physical science and health, nutritional science. Like there have been so many different changes in that regard that you're still basing your stuff on 97. And unfortunately, baseball and every sport has become more athletic, more physical, more demanding. So you're going to have that wear and tear. And if you can't fix it, guess what? You're going to get Mike Trout, who's supposed to be out for 4 weeks, and he's out maybe for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I have visions of them working out the guys like from Rocky videos. They're punching dead meat or whatever.
Rocky 4.
Yeah, there you go, Rocky 4.
Oh, yeah, you're going to the mountains. You're going to Sierra Nevada. You're lifting rocks and logs, and you're jogging up the mountain.
Yeah, like it's 1985, like Joe Madden says.
Yeah, he keeps preaching 1985. It's like, oh, come on, man. We're not playing like 1985.
We're playing There's No Easy Way Out.
Yeah.
In the locker room.
And one other thing I had too for a question. Did you know that we are sporadic at batting practice, which means we go down underneath the stadium and they'll just hit in the cages. They won't even come out in the field. And this is several times. Like they'll go about 8 or 9 games without having any batting practice.
That is weird. You figured you'd have an open batting practice instead of being the cages.
No, we pretty much at Angel Stadium anyway. The road team gets all the fanfare because they're the ones doing the batting practice, and then everyone's like, "Where's the Angels?" Oh, they're downstairs. They're hitting the cages.
Yeah, I mean, you figure people will want to see Shohei Ohtani hit some bombs in batting practice, right?
Yeah, and you'd like to see where your balls are.
He doesn't even take BP.
Yeah, he doesn't take BP.
That's crazy with how well he's been doing. Jeez.
Yeah, he admitted he hasn't taken it since like last year. I think he said.
This team is ass backward.
Well, I mean, it's worked for him. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, don't fix what's not broken.
yeah, exactly.
A couple of the other things. So we've interviewed quite a few minor league baseball players. You alluded to it on your video that the situation with minor league problems is definitely a Major League Baseball
Mhm.
issue. I mean, Andrew and I did an interview about a year ago with Matt Antonelli, who was a first round draft pick for the Padres.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I
I
think he
think
does
that's-
YouTube, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep. He came on our show, and he had mentioned that he saw guys cooking ramen noodles out of their bathtubs. Guys used to use air conditioning units as freezers for chicken to try to keep it, cool enough to eat later. Todd and I interviewed Ty Buttrey. He's a friend of the show. He told us that guys, would with their $8 a day that they get for food, you get 20, but you're paying $12 per diem to the clubby. So really, you get $8 or less. So they'd walk over to the gas station, get things like zebra cakes and soda.
They
Because
eat like
for $8
shit, and unfortunately, your physique doesn't work out like that. Like, okay, I'll go to McDonald's, I'll get like a Big Mac meal, but unfortunately, that's not giving you the nutrients to develop as an athlete. Have you ever tried buying protein before? That shit is expensive.
Yes.
Oh yeah, very expensive.
Like you're not getting like for $8, you're maybe getting like a little tablespoon with nothing
Yeah.
to drink it with. You gotta just like, okay, well, open wide, drink the powder. That's
Use your
what you're
saliva.
buying for like $8 with protein, especially the
Yeah,
good stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all check out our sponsors if you want protein powder.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is it's just, it's definitely a league-wide issue. And I think at some point, hopefully that will start to get figured out. Though we love to do it, we as podcasters shouldn't be in a position where we have to donate meals to single A guys
Exactly.
because they're stuck eating zebra cakes. Do we mind doing it? No, it's a great cause. And I think the biggest issue is that society just thinks that these minor league guys are getting paid tons and tons of money because major leaguers get paid handsomely.
Well,
So
what they're also thinking is, they see like the first round talent and the elite talents get these big bonuses of like a couple million, but those are the exception. Most of the guys you're getting maybe
It's not the
like
rule.
$10,000, $20,000. They're probably stashing in a 401k, or you're from the Dominican getting like a $20,000 bonus. And most of that's going to the Boscone that discovered them.
Yeah.
Well, and also there's a lot of people who get like an $1,000 signing bonus. That's no joke.
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
here's $1,000. Oh, and you're stuck here for 7 to 11 years.
Yep.
It's
Seniors
insane.
in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you would think that more players would be advocates for the minor league system.
I think the problem is most of the major league guys are just like, whatever, I'm making my money, or they're big time draft picks that have never had to deal with that struggle.
Yeah, that's true.
So like
you
Mike
think that-
Trout, like he got a nice signing bonus out of college. He's come from a well-off family, so he's never had to deal with that issue.
Yeah.
A guy like maybe
Absolutely.
Garrett Cole made like over $5 million in signing bonus. He's never had to deal with that issue.
Yeah, but if you were Mike Trout and you had a huge signing bonus and you went through a minor league system even for a couple of years, you still have empathy for your teammates that seeing them in those situations.
I think too they have their own issue to deal with. I feel like I'm worried there's going to be a work stoppage next year. I don't know how long it's going to be, but
Yeah, it's
especially
important.
with
There will
how
be.
the MLBPA and baseball, especially last year, it's going to get ugly, and baseball cannot afford it. Like they literally cannot, and I feel like it's just an unavoidable car crash at this point, and it's sad.
Yeah, do you think
I
it'll
feel
be a
like
big
baseball's finally starting to get it right in terms of like, oh, let's not go after the people who are trying to promote us on social media. And then
hit?
it's like they're finally not sicking the hounds on like random YouTubers or anything like that. It's just like, hey, you're finally getting it. Well, too bad. Well, we're probably going to go for a labor stoppage.
Yeah,
Great.
because they have a lot of things to deal with this offseason, a lot of things to discuss,
Yes.
and a lot of
Absolutely.
points where they're not seeing eye to eye.
Salary cap, salary floor. There's probably a couple other things. Guaranteed money,
Universal
especially for the
DH.
players' organization.
Universal, yeah.
Yeah. The extra playoff team as well.
Teams, yeah.
Maybe more teams. I think baseball wants to do the 16 team format, which I think would be stupid because it just rewards mediocrity. But
Yeah, it would water down everything. You wouldn't want to see like the NBA where you see teams getting in like 3 or 4 teams under 500.
yeah, like that was like that last year. Like you'd probably get the Angels in the playoffs, which is like, hey, great, you get to see Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs, but would it be worth it? Because they'll get smacked in maybe 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, if that. So yeah, I much rather see them do what they did in the COVID season, just adding that extra one team. I think that was better for me. I enjoyed that actually.
Oh, the COVID season, I think they added, they did 8.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
8. Sorry, 8.
They did 8. Like they overloaded it,
Yeah.
which I mean, kind of makes sense because it was a 2-month season, but still, it's like
Yeah, they had to make money,
mediocrity.
you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm totally with all of you guys thinking that, hey, like you think at some point some of these major league guys would maybe be fighting a little bit more for like, hey, let's get these guys some help because, you know, regardless of signing bonus, you know, they've all at least had to struggle a little bit. Like when we had Ty Buttrey on, he said that his signing bonus was just under $2 million, but he said that him and his wife still had to struggle a little bit, maybe not to the extent of everyone else. But, you know, they at least saw the people around them and they used to think to themselves, like, dude, can you imagine like having a kid and getting paid, you know, $12,000 a year pre-tax? Oh, and you have to raise your family. Oh, and you have to, you know, live with 12 dudes, you know, and you have to eat poorly. Like, I feel really bad for these guys. And, you know, at some point you would like to think that something is going to change, but maybe that's where, you know, the people like us step in. I think the problem is a lot of these media guys, you know, the Ken Rosenthal's, the Jeff Passons don't want to talk about it because of the politics in baseball, right?
Well,
you know?
it'll cut their sources also. So that's another issue as well. Conflict of interest. So they're not going to go after like the big topics that need to be discussed because once again, they have their ins in baseball. They have their ins in like management. They have their ins in the players. And if they go after that, it might jeopardize it. So, and I'm not blaming them for that whatsoever. That's how they get their
information. It's their job.
But at the same time, you're not getting a full picture.
Absolutely.
And like a random YouTuber, like we can talk about it, but we don't have power. Like we don't have sources. We don't have influence. We're just a bunch of dudes just sitting around rambling on a computer, maybe with a background or with whatever my background is. So that's the unfortunate situation. And
yeah.
It's going to take a lot to fix it because this is decades in the making. And there's also a stubbornness in baseball, like a feeling of like you need to pay your dues, the idea of tradition, the idea of like, okay, you have to earn what you make, which I mean is noble. But at the same time, earning your stripes doesn't mean getting paid $10,000 a year, struggling to make a living, not getting proper nutrition, and potentially not being able to pay rent. That's not the struggle that they realize. The struggle is, okay, build your way up, get a great average, develop yourself, but be fed. Don't have to worry about anything in terms of bills or anything like that. You figured the Angels would at least put them in housing and say like, hey, we'll pay for your bills. We'll pay for all your rent and your food. Go play baseball.
Yeah.
The Pirates
I
do
think
that.
that would be wise.
Yeah,
The Pirates have a village.
Mm-hmm. In Bradenton, yes. So for the rookies, the Dominican players, and guys, I believe in low A.
See, that's what we were talking about. You know, with all the property he has, you know, in any other of these teams, just buy a few apartment complexes, man. And if you want to be cheap like that too, and maybe just have one gym for them to work out, and boom, there you go. And you could take care of their housing. I mean, I don't see the big deal in it. You're going to be making money hand over fist. I just think, like you said, other sports have grown as far as like getting rid of some of the unwritten rules, getting rid of some of the old fogey type stuff to where, you know, in college football, you used to have 2-a-days and all these crazy things. They don't do that stuff anymore.
The high school had 3-a-days.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I mean, that has all changed. But like you said, baseball, you're still doing some primitive stuff. and in primitive pay, like you said. So it's a shame, and we hope that can change at some point, because there is a lot of players and families, like Ty Buttrey's wife talked about, that are, if you accidentally, some people accidentally have families, or they start their families early, and if you're doing it then, the woman has to sacrifice her time working because they're taking care of a child or her career, and the player is too, putting everything on the line instead of maybe going to college or starting a career.
Or the team can't afford a daycare. And one thing the Pirates do that I really like is they pay for like a scholarship. They pay for college in case it doesn't work out. So like,
Oh, that's cool.
baseball
That's awesome.
doesn't
That
work
is
out.
awesome.
Like, hey, we'll pay for your education. That actually makes sense.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is
Maybe that's what the Angels Foundation does.
I doubt it.
It's still
I
up
doubt
there.
No,
We
it
don't
pays
know.
for Artie Moreno's education so he can be a better manager and a better
There you
GM.
You're right.
Maybe
You're right. He makes
maybe he
every
saw
move.
Ted Turner manage that one game in the 70s and thought, you know what? I could do that too. It'll be a total
Yeah.
violation of ethics and I'll be slammed down, but you know what? I'm going to manage the Angels.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
going
like
to
Doc
yell at
Rivers.
Angel Hernandez for sucking at his job.
Yeah, right. It's like Doc
Latino
Rivers,
to
he's a
Latino.
GM and coach.
Yeah, he can do it because he's Latino. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, we need Artie to do all the on-field stuff, and then we need him to also like serve the food in the Alexis Diamond Club, and he's also going to commentate the games.
No, he's not going to do like he'll commentate the game because apparently he fired one announcer out of the blue randomly because he didn't like him. But,
Funny
like
story
serving
about that.
food, no. What he's going to do is he's going to drop the price of beer at the club for him only.
Yeah, that's true. You're gonna have a mustache and look kind of like Walt Disney.
Maybe like I'll twirl it a little bit too.
Oh yeah, tell him about Sutton.
Yeah, so we interviewed Sutton, and he was a great interview, great guy. Blew our mind with how good the interview was. Immediately, like 3 days later, he got fired.
Jeez.
We did his very last Angels interview.
Yeah,
Hang that on your hat, dude.
right, the day we were going to release it, the video and also the podcast for him, it said, "Get to know the new Angels announcer." And he gets
Well, formerly new. Angel.
yeah,
Hey, he was new at the time.
yeah.
He's a great guy, though. He's a great guy.
Seems
You're ever
like
gonna
a
run
good
into
guy.
him? He's a good guy to talk baseball.
I mean,
with.
unfortunately, that's business, especially in like
get
media
it.
and announcing. It's brutal.
It just sucked
Yeah.
because his background, he was a former minor leaguer for the Angels, and he played for the and that was his favorite team growing up watching his dad. So I was like, oh man. But
At least he was a fan of the team, you know.
Yeah.
And then we're interviewing Rick Waltz, who's our new commentator. So hopefully he doesn't get fired, or we'll be bad luck.
it will be 2 for 2.
I'll knock on the wood for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So last point about how bad Artie is. So he furloughed hundreds of people in the organization last year. And not only did he furlough everybody to obviously, not have to deal with everything, hey, your unemployment's on the government. He then proceeded to be one of Donald Trump's biggest donators. And whoever, you can donate and support any political candidate you want. I'm not throwing that out there. What I'm throwing out there is, hey, I'm not going to pay these people, but I'm going to give out some free money.
It's the game of politics. You got to be in with the president. Remember, Artie Moreno was like, he was in cahoots with W for a bit.
Mhm.
He was talking
Oh, that's right,
baseball
yeah.
with them at an old tavern. So once again, you can spend your money how you want, but when
Absolutely.
you're cutting the funds of millions of people, you're gutting your scouting staff, you're not paying your minor leaguers yet, you're supporting a politician. And
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be saying the same thing if you were supporting Biden. So it's like,
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I didn't care that he was supporting, whoever, man.
That's it's a double standard. So
Yeah, it's okay, you're not going to pay the people who work for you during a pandemic, but we're just going to give out free money. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
That was
Don't
that
worry,
was really
they
the
can-
icing of the cake.
they can reapply for their jobs once everything ends. That's
Yeah.
how it always goes.
But it's
Yeah.
like, but I really like the hot dog job. Now I got to serve popcorn. Damn it.
Yeah.
You'd be lucky to be serving hot dogs. I'll pay you $2 an hour less.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, am I missing anything? Like, as to on the Artie Moreno cake, or
You know,
have
I-
you kind of made it to the top?
I just had one question, because that video at the end, you got like the intensity in the last 3 minutes just went through the roof.
Mhm.
Like when I was when you got into the Tyler Skaggs.
Yeah.
And
I guess
was-
it's like it's kind of a disgust because, like, I mean, the organization was complacent in killing him, man.
yeah, so I was wondering, when you're making the video, was it leading to that point, or was that a point where in your research you started like looking into it and you're like, holy shit, like
It
this
was a
is really
little bit
happening?
like it had led to that point because I remember like going over the Skag situation about that, and then you slowly build up to it over time too. I mean, like the minor league stuff came out a couple months before. That's what kind of pushed me to kind of look at the Angels in a different way too. The scouts, like that kind of pushed in as well, like near the end. But at the same time, it's like this team should be better than what they are. It's
Mhm.
frustrating because you have two generational talents in Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and you can't even sniff the postseason. That is really depressing and infuriating, especially if you're a fan of baseball.
Mhm.
I mean, Stephen A.
You
Smith
guys-
can go off about like how Shohei Ohtani doesn't speak English and all that stupid shit. But,
Well, let's not get into that.
but I mean, Shohei Ohtani has become one of the faces of baseball. He's
Absolutely.
doing things that baseball hasn't seen in 100 years. This guy's not even going to pitch in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
I think honestly, if he's not on the team, this team's like 30, 40 games out. We're the Orioles right now.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you may get Jared Walsh that comes out like David Fletcher has a random hitting streak, but for the most part, it's like you're nothing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and you can't argue that either. It's not
And
like,
even with Trout, like you maybe have an extra win or two, but it's not going to be much.
yeah. It's just sad all around, and especially the guys that they trotted out here on 1 year deals. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's just not-
Because unfortunately, Artie Moreno doesn't want to go above the luxury tax. So that's why you have to dumpster dive. And unfortunately, those 1 year deals rarely work.
Mhm.
Maybe if you're lucky, they'll pan out.
If you're the
Like
Giants,
Dylan Bundy
they
did
pan out.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you have to be really smart. They either like have to be like prove it deals, or those that maybe you have an underlying analytical stat that shows that maybe, okay, there's something here that he may still have something, or it may not have been his fault. But most of that's
Yeah.
being discovered. And the Angels don't really strike me as a team that really invests a whole lot in their analytics department. So I feel
What?
like it's
Anything
going to be
Artie.
like 1 year that just like, okay, we'll bring in names. Maybe they'll pan out, maybe not.
We got some guys that could do some fractions. That's about it, though.
Hey, if you can move decimal points, you're fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's your next? Unless you have any other questions about the Angels or Fernando or
No, I mean, that's really about it. I mean, I think that the biggest thing that Artie Moreno has done is truly create a toxic organization from the
Mhm.
top down.
Exactly.
And I definitely think that his actions, I'm not even talking about personnel decisions, but his actions, or maybe lack of regard for making any actions to benefit the what's the word I'm looking for? The structural support of the organization in the form of trainers, coaches,
Yes.
people who support the players are really rotting the organization from the inside out.
Mhm.
It's to the point where it's starting to bleed into the stands. Like the fans are now starting to get, resentful.
yeah.
A lot of the same people who were like Artie Moreno apologists, even like me, I was a big Artie Moreno fan like 3 years ago. And all of a sudden it's like, you know what? This guy is not a good dude. This guy is a bad man. Like, it's not even about being a bad owner at this point. I just don't think Artie's a good human. There's a lot more stuff he could be doing to just, show support to the community, or, hell, even any support, not even anything significant.
Be careful, man. Artie might send you to the training staff.
That's true.
Oh, no.
He'll write
And it's
a strongly worded letter to the editor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tree. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to make a joke that it's going to be like the gingerbread man in like Shrek when Lord Farquaad like had his feet.
Oh,
Yeah,
and then he
the
just
trainers
like,
are going to do that
cracks
to
one.
me. They're going to tie me to the table. No,
No, not my gumdrop buttons.
not the gumdrop buttons. Oh, good times.
Hey, so Tree, what do you got next on the video research? What are you working on?
Well, next vid right now is Haters Guide to the NFC playoffs. I mean, well, most of it, like my biggest season right now is like September through December because I do a lot of football stuff like week to week. So sports ball is going to keep me pretty busy, but for the most part, I feel like more like historical stuff, I would say. So like a
Okay.
couple like stuff that's in like the planning process. Like one of the videos on my bucket list, it's probably going to be a series. It's like going over the Pirates' 20 years of consecutive seasons under 500.
Oh, nice.
That's
Okay.
impressive.
That's the video. Like those are the teams that got me into like really just like diving into just shit teams and organizations. So that is a real soft spot, and that's like a bucket list bit. So
Okay. Gonna talk about the Brian,
It might be
Brian
a-
Giles years.
Brian Giles, Bonifay, Littlefield operation shut down. You know, drafting a closer over Matt Wieters because you didn't want to deal with Scott Boras, and then swallow Matt Morris's entire contract because veteranism. That's
Yeah.
gone.
So I take it you're going to be pretty passionate in those series.
Oh yeah, dude. They were bad, dude. They lost an entire generation of fans because it was just 20 years of dog shit. I was too young to remember the early 90s. So what I remember is just like being really, really bad until I was 25.
There you go.
So no,
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
Oh, man, well, we appreciate everything you do, man, especially on the Angels thing. Because again, in the outset of the video, podcast, we were just amazed on the responses we got when we posted your video and stuff like that. A lot of fans got pretty passionate, and a lot of people, it opened eyes. It opened eyes to
Absolutely.
exactly, because a lot of people forgot about that kind of stuff, what happened behind the scenes or the player movement and things like that. So we really appreciate the video. It was well done.
Thanks for having me on, boys. And I mean, as I said, that's what I try to do with the videos. Like, I want to make stuff that doesn't suck. That's the way I really No, if it
Your
doesn't
videos
suck,
don't suck.
we're good. Okay.
Where else can our fans find you?
Well,
Well,
I
I was
am on
interested.
YouTube at Urinating Tree. I'm also on Twitter on Urinating Tree, but I mostly shitpost on there. I am I'm also on on Instagram on urinating_tree, but I don't really post much on there. Mostly just random pics of food and locations. I need to up my Instagram game. I know it's not good.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, guys? Or
No, thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on. We appreciate the time. We appreciate the videos. Keep up the good content, man. We're cheering for you on this side.
No, thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
all right, sounds good. Have a good one, man.
Thank you, man. Take care.
See ya.